Okay, well, I'm in the news again, but this time it wasn't a CTV article, at least not yet. I wasn't necessarily mentioned in Parliament again. I was actually mentioned by the British Columbia Premier, David Eby, in a kind of negative way, and we're going to be talking about that. This is getting out of hand, and this is going to be my official response to what the Premier said about me. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage you all to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help grow the channel, and we got to talk about protecting ourselves with what we say, protecting ourselves with how we, go about our travels, our journey on the interwebs. And that's a great lead into today's sponsor. I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. We've teamed up together and we're offering my audience 83% off for using code SUNSHINE, which can be found linked down below in the description or the pinned comment below. It's no surprise that we're living in a time of censorship, and Canada is unfortunately leading that race because of Justin Trudeau. Now, Justin Trudeau wants to make sure that you can't see the news. He wants to make sure that you can't see certain content on streaming platforms like Netflix, Hulu, Crave, and you shouldn't have Disney Plus because, of course, our finance minister said if you can't afford things, you should cancel Disney Plus. So the way around this is through a VPN such as Private Internet Access. Now, for those who don't know what a VPN is, it's a way to encrypt your data, basically putting a cloak over you so that you can freely browse the internet without feeling like your personal information is at risk or the government getting and selling your personal information. And the best way that I like to go about this, the best cloak that I like to put over myself is Private Internet Access, which again can be found linked down below in the description or the pinned comment below for 83% off. Thank you, Private Internet Access, for sponsoring this video. Alrighty, so here's my official reply to a response to everything that's been going on and what the Premier said about me. Now, for those that need a little bit more context, couple weekends ago, I was on Vancouver Island and I was aware of a annual general meeting convention for the British Columbia Conservative Party. So I decided to just show up. And of course, given the fact that, well, I shouldn't say of course, but given the fact that I have 400 and some thousand subscribers on this channel and another channel, House of Canada, with 120 some thousand subscribers, I was given a media pass. There were other YouTubers there. There was some independent media. It was pretty cool to see that and to be a part of something in real person. That was my real step forward from being behind a screen to actually showing up and doing something in person. And given the fact that part of my reputation as being the question period guy at the federal level on my House of Canada channel, it was suggested that I go to the legislator in Victoria, British Columbia, to watch the provincial question period. And so I did. And I already made a video about this a few days ago called, I don't know, the media or my official response to Canadian news or something of the sorts. So I go to the legislator and I'm introduced because I have a couple YouTube channels. I was in the military. I think there's a good amount of people in Canada in the Canadian news space or in politics that know my face or my name or my voice. And so I was introduced by the British Columbia Conservative Party. Not really a big deal. It was cool to be a part of that. By the end of question period, an NDP member started attacking me, calling me a Trump supporter, calling me MAGA, all those things. We're going to get to me clarifying my stances on all this very shortly. After that, later that night, CTV did a hit piece on me, calling me some more names. I thought that was done. That was like last Wednesday or something like that. So time went on. And then today I find out on a stream that I was doing earlier this morning that the province's premier started to say some things about me at a press conference at a liquor store. So let's take a look at that, and then I'm going to clarify everything and my stances on everything. And yes, I know that the NDP staffers or clerks or students that are working their interns, they're probably appointed to my channels to look for my responses to things. So everything is going to be condensed in this video. But here's what Premier David Eby said about me earlier today.
And so that's good. He has some more work to do around members of his caucus that are expressing openly anti-Canadian perspectives, pro-Trump perspectives. And I would encourage him to not stop here.
It's about John Rustad.
His members reflect the values that we all have as Canadians. And I'll just cite a couple of examples. The fact that members of his caucus that are still there couldn't bring themselves to vote to condemn tariffs, to target Republican states, to be part of Team Canada, that they voted against that motion is a very troubling sign. The fact that Brian Tepper stood up in the House and introduced as a patriot a YouTuber that literally apologized to the United States for Canada's retaliation, who called Doug Ford's electricity tariff a war crime.
Nope. It wasn't his electricity tariff. It was removing or cutting off power to 1.4, 1.5 million homes. And I wasn't introduced as a patriot for making YouTube videos. If I'm not mistaken, was introduced as a patriot for being in the military, which is public knowledge.
You know, this was a man introduced in the legislature by a Conservative member as a patriot. So John's got some work to do if he wants to ensure that the extremist views in his party are addressed.
Next, we'll go to Richard Zussman, Global News.
So apparently, I'm a far-right YouTuber with extremist views, right? That's kind of the takeaway from all of that, which is a little bit crazy. So now we're going to dissect this, and I will provide my stances. One, kind of crazy for David Eby to try and make those claims that are unsubstantiated and factually incorrect. Patriot, because I was in the military, and that's a thing that MLAs know. It's literally in the description of this YouTube channel. So anyone who looks me up, it literally says in my YouTube description that I was in the military for 9 years, the greater part of 9 years. So let's move past that. Whether you want to view that as a patriot or not, the person who introduced me did view it as that. And so there you go. So not a patriot because I make YouTube videos. Now, these YouTube videos, I'm not a politician. I don't think I have an interest in being a politician. I make YouTube videos for fun. I provide commentary because it's fun for me to take. This is how I take an interest in politics. None of this is I don't have a degree in political science. This is like for entertainment purposes only. I thought that was pretty clear. I like to watch Question Period because it's fun. The debates are fun for me. I drink maybe a little bit too much coffee. Maybe I'm a little bit on the spectrum of some sorts, but to me, it's fun. And so in terms of my extremist views, some people view that as a badge of honor. I still am unsure exactly how I view that, but I think that that's a little bit wrong for a premier who, by the way, David Eby, he has a law degree. He holds a status with the bar, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a little weird for a lawyer to make those unsubstantiated claims like that, and especially as a premier to try and oust a private citizen in this province. My stances have been, I thought they were pretty known from the thousands of videos that I've put out, but for those that need some clarification, let me clarify. In British Columbia, there's a massive crisis with drugs and homelessness. For crying out loud, they just found a super fentanyl lab in the past 12 months that had enough materials there to kill over 90 million people. That's an act of terrorism like we have never seen before, ever. I don't think there's ever been something that we've seen in at least my lifetime that had the ability to wipe out 95 million people, especially not floating around in Canada. So that right there is an issue, and that needs to be addressed. Also, safe supply in British Columbia. I don't think that works. They tried it. A lot of people said it was going to fail, and it has failed. If it were up to me, I would shut down all of safe supply because I think that it is a big waste of money. I don't think that it's really, if you look at the statistics, I don't think it's helped people. I think people are still overdosing. I don't think it's good at all. So that needs to be addressed almost immediately. But some things I have, one could say, liberal views on. Childcare. I've got 2 kids. I have 2 kids, and I've said this many times before. My stance on childcare is I think that the subsidized $10 a day childcare, I think that's phenomenal, right? The cost of childcare is freaking insane, right? You can put kids in daycare. It's like $1,800 a month without subsidies in Prince George. I don't even know what it would be like in Toronto or Vancouver, probably over $2,000 a month. That's a lot of money, $3,000 a month, depending what you're looking at, the location or whatever's involved with that, right? So subsidized childcare, I think, is really good and incentivizes people to have kids. Now, should the government be putting as much money into it as they are when it's a bit of a broken system? Like there's a 4-year wait list in certain towns, not even cities, but in towns. I feel like it's a bit of a flawed system. So revisiting that and making sure that we can actually afford to do that, I think is a pretty good idea. So like I have some views that are pretty centrist. I have some views that could be viewed as liberal. Right? Like social programs aren't inherently a bad thing. I think our medical system here being embedded in our taxes is a good thing, right? When you compare it to America where they have to pay out of pocket, you could do a cost analysis and see how much we pay in taxes that goes towards healthcare, how much Americans have to pay for their own healthcare and what that. I think it's good to the knowledge that I have. Now, the system that we have for our healthcare right now, it's a little bogged up, right? You've got a lack of doctors and nurses, largely due to interprovincial barriers, because you can be qualified as a nurse in Ontario, but you can't just immediately get up and go to BC. There's a lot of hooplas to go through. There's a lot of barriers, right? So again, maybe that's a bit more of a liberal stance. I think that it's extremely wrongfully managed right now, our healthcare system. But I personally think, based off of what I know, that having our healthcare embedded into our taxes is a good thing. You can disagree, you can agree, that's okay. That's just my stance on that. So again, that's viewed a bit as a liberal viewpoint. So being called a far right-wing person with extremist views is insane. I do think that it is an act of war to cut off power to another country. Russia hasn't done that to Europe because that would be an act of war. And that would, they've got sanctions imposed on them for crying out loud by every country in the world. And Russia's still not cutting off the power. Didn't Israel try to do something like that with Gaza and Palestinians, or cut off water or power? One of those things, wasn't there massive outrage from that? So again, cutting off power is not the tariffs that David Eby said, right? The YouTuber has a problem with the Premier of Ontario's tariffs. No. It's his 100%, like 0 to 100 on immediately shutting off the power, which then he's since taken back and said that he's going to apply 25% surcharge on electricity. And I've said this in recent videos. That's better. That's a step in the right direction. I don't necessarily agree with the trade war to the capacity it's especially evolved to. I've been clear about that. Now, I have apologized to Americans for, if I'm not mistaken, Doug Ford's threats to cut off the power to 1.5 million homes. Hey, Americans, if you're affected by that, I am sorry, because that's not the values that Canadians have. That's not the views that Canadians have. Canadians, for the most part, don't agree with shutting off the power to American homes. You could be a wildly leftist, crazy liberal or whatever. Chances are people don't agree with cutting off the power, even in a trade war. You want to increase the cost of power? You want to add 25% surcharge? That's a different story. So again, these are wild accusations. Now, aside from just words and a video response, what's my next action? Well, we're going to have to wait and see. I did post this on X, and I am in the process of trying to figure this out. Time to lawyer up. It's unacceptable, it's reckless, and extremely dangerous that the BC Premier, David Eby, is calling me a far-right extremist YouTuber. There have already been death threats to me and my family for CTV's coverage on this last week, and who knows how far this is going to go. Obviously, my primary concern is the safety of my family and myself and our well-being. So that is being considered on all levels. That's first and foremost. Second is, if there are legal repercussions to this, then that will be pursued, because it's very reckless for a politician to say that about a private citizen without even substantiating those claims. It's called freedom of speech. If I think that it's wrong for a premier to cut off power to another country, to 1.5 million homes, that's I don't understand why the media is even giving that a platform. That's insanity to me. You want to charge 25% more? That's a trade war. That I agree more with that concept than I do with the shutting the power off. So that's step 2, is pursuing legal action, right? I don't know what that's going to look like right now. I've made some calls. I've got some voicemails to check. So we're going to be taking a look at that. And the third thing that I'm going to be doing is making sure that I stay true to myself. This has been, I'd be lying if I said this was easy to go through this the past couple of weeks, right? Like this has been kind of crazy. I just make my videos. I don't want to seem like I'm shelling up and trying to hide behind the fact that I just make my videos and I'm a regular guy. But those things are true. I just make my videos. I never expected to be on the news, on CTV, or my name coming out of the premier's mouth, right? Like that's a little absurd. So I'm still, I don't want to say coping with that, but it's a bit of a roller coaster. And so I'm navigating it to the best of my ability. And we're going to have to see how this does play out. But again, I don't want this to silence me. I don't want this fear, this almost active intimidation by the media and by politicians to shut me down. I thoroughly enjoy making these videos for entertainment purposes only, folks. I have fun. I scream when they debate. I have a lot of fun making these videos. And I think that you guys have a lot of fun as well with me viewing this stuff, because we're all just kind of navigating this crazy time in Canada together. And so I want to make sure that I don't shut this channel down, that I don't shell up. And that's something that I'm working on. So I appreciate all of the support by people on X and YouTube. It is very phenomenal to know that I have that kind of support. The video that I made a few days ago about how the Canadian media is attacking me, that's one of the few videos that I've ever made where I'm not talking about a policy that Trudeau has said or done. That was like a raw dog kind of video. Like, here's what's happening. Here's real life stuff. I'm just going to talk to the camera. I'm going to show clips of, yes, it was in the legislature that it took place, but it's a different video than other things that I've made, right? Than pretty much everything else I've made. And so that's how I feel about this type of video. This is kind of the second one, or very few that I've ever made like this. And the support has so far been really phenomenal. So I want to say thank you to the viewers, to the subscribers, to everybody that is showing support in one form or another. I feel like we're entering a COVID style of censorship and divisiveness, and we can't even have regular conversations anymore. The media never even reached out to me for comment, and I left a literal comment on the reporter's post saying she was looking into me. And I had said, I'm an open book. You can ask me anything. So journalists in this country are not even being journalists, yet they hold that title. I believe that would be some sort of ethical violation to work for a mainstream media company, to call yourself a journalist, but not actually do journalism. If media wants to contact me, go ahead. Reach me on Twitter, reach me on X, DM me, send me an email. We'll figure it out. But I'm more than happy to discuss this. And I just, again, want to say thank you so much, everybody, for supporting me. And let's keep our stick on the ice. None of this elbows up crap. Keep your stick on the ice. I'll see you guys in another video. Bye for now.